If you have ADHD and struggle with depression or anxiety, you may be surprised to learn that more than 40% of ADHDers are in excellent mental health. And those aren't my numbers. They come straight from a study out of the University of Toronto. It makes you wonder, what are those ADHDers doing differently? If that sounds like you, you're in the right place, because in this video, I'm talking about the obstacles that ADHDers face when it comes to mental health and giving you 5 ways to help overcome them. Let's get started. If you're new here, I'm Kristen. I'm a fellow ADHDer and a creative mindset coach. And I'm on a mission to help neurodivergents rewrite their own narrative so they can finally thrive. But I wasn't always that clear on my purpose. For a long time, I believed that happiness and success were for other normal people, and I was never going to be one. When I was finally diagnosed at the age of 40, I thought I had finally figured out the problem and now I could fix it. But the more I learned, the more stuck I felt. ADHD isn't an illness, so it can't be cured. It's a condition that you just need to adapt to. And at the time, I thought that meant that I would simply always struggle. Which is partially true. I will always struggle to be normal. I will always struggle to show up on time, to stay organized. I will always have weaknesses to overcome, no matter how hard I work or how far I come. That's actually very normal. That's the case for everybody. The difference between who I was then and who I am now is profound. I mean, I still don't fit in the box labeled normal, but today I am happy. I have a purpose and goals that I work towards. And I believe that you deserve that too. And look, I know transforming your mental health is not easy, but I also know that it's absolutely possible. If you're patient, which I realize is not something the average ADHDer is very good at, but still. Mental health is a lot like physical health. You have to keep working at it, and your results are not going to be instant, especially if your starting point is far away from your end goal. You will have setbacks, and there will be days that you feel like giving up. And when you struggle to be consistent, you need to switch to persistence. Let me say that again. When you struggle to be consistent, you need to switch to persistence. Just don't give up. Keep going at your own pace and in your own way. And remember, ADHD comes with a whole bunch of possible comorbidities. Sometimes they're physical, like hypermobility, and sometimes they're not, like anxiety and depression. And that means treating your ADHD might not improve your mental health, but improving your mental health will always improve your ADHD, because we do not function well in negative emotion. We can't shame ourselves into paying attention, and we can't hate ourselves into showing up on time. So maybe stop trying? Because despite what you may have been told and what you may believe, there isn't a single ADHD trait that makes you a bad person. Not one. Forgetting your friend's birthday does not mean you're cruel. Being disorganized does not mean that you're dishonest. Not being able to keep a clean house does not mean that you deserve to be miserable. I mean, here we are forgetting appointments and treating ourselves like we're out there killing kittens. Come on. But to be fair, we think this way because humans are herd animals, like zebras. Fitting into the black and white stripes pretty much guarantees our safety. It's scary to stand out, so much so that when you stand out, the people that are standing next to you get scared. And when humans get scared, they get angry. And it's usually at you. Don't let the opinions of scared baby zebras stop you from living your life in Technicolor. But it does make sense for us to feel this way. The average ADHDer experiences 20,000 more instances of negative feedback before the age of 10 compared to a neurotypical. And most of that is for stuff that we have no control over. And that's exactly how shame forms. We're expected to fit in, and when we can't, we get blamed for that. And that eventually becomes the narrative we tell ourselves. As we grow up, that narrative proves itself again and again. Every misstep we make, we blame ourselves for, even if it's very small with no real consequence. And eventually that wrongness becomes your identity. Not because you're bad, just because you're different. But what if we've got it all wrong? What if being normal should never be the goal? Think of all the energy you would save just not having to try to fit in. As Aunt Frances says in the movie Practical Magic, being normal isn't necessarily a virtue. It rather denotes a lack of courage. And you are anything but cowardly. Okay, so here's the part where I could give you a whole bunch of ways to improve your mental health that you've heard a million times. Go to therapy, accept yourself, love yourself, be kind to yourself. And it's not that these things are untrue, they're just, unhelpful. But there are things that you can do that will stop you from thinking like you're less than. But before I get into them, consider hitting that subscribe button. I make videos on neurodivergence every week, and if you're enjoying this one, you'll definitely enjoy the others. Now, on to the 5 not so normal ways that ADHDers can improve their mental health. Number 1, replace routines with rituals. ADHDers struggle to form habits, no matter how long we've been doing them. If we miss a day, everything falls apart. We never learn to do these things automatically the way that neurotypicals do. And honestly, expecting our noisy, always going brain to do something without thinking is a little silly. So instead, we need to do things with more thought, more intention. It's like milk and sugar in your coffee. You're going to put that milk and sugar in every day. And if you run out of sugar, you're not going to forget to put it in the next day, as long as you remember to buy the sugar in the first place. But that's a different story. When you have the milk and sugar, you're going to put it in your coffee. Why? Because you prefer it that way. Take that energy and apply it to every area of your life. Buy yourself flowers every week just to make yourself happy. Decorate your room and dress in clothes that are your favorite color. Take the long way to work because you prefer the view. Make a playlist specifically for that drive. It is amazing how much easier it is to get out that door when pleasure and thought is baked into your commute. 2, align with your values. Neurotypicals have this way of being able to work at a job they hate just because it pays well. We cannot. That's a surefire way for us to be miserable. In the same way, we need to fill our day with small pleasures. We need to fill our life with big pleasures. And they come in the form of what we value. It could be curiosity, humor, wit, whatever it is. It needs to be in alignment with your day-to-day life. If you value creativity, like me, you're probably not going to be very happy at a desk job. At least not unless you have a really great creative outlet. If you don't know what you value, then start with your strengths, because we tend to do the things that we value most, so we get pretty good at them. And if you're still stuck, try the VIA character strengths test. It's online, it's free. All you have to do is fill out a survey and give them your email address, and they'll send you a list of all your core character strengths. From there, you can use that list as a guide to help you make decisions that will steer you clear of a miserable situation, like a job you hate. Number 3, find your people. Being different is hard, but it doesn't have to be lonely. ADHDers often struggle with relationships of all kinds, whether it's romantic relationships, friendships, even coworkers can be a struggle. Rejection sensitivity can make this feel very scary, but if you're struggling to relate to people, there's a very good chance that you're just around the wrong people. What's that quote? Before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes? Something like that. Great advice. But here's the thing. The worst relationships are not with your enemies. They're not with the assholes. The hardest relationships to deal with are with your frenemies. When you don't know where you stand with somebody, your brain has to work overtime just to know how to navigate the situation. These kinds of relationships are exhausting and are guaranteed to destroy your mental health. I mean, knowing somebody doesn't like you is hard, but it's not as hard as not knowing. Put deliberate distance between anybody that leaves you wondering. Number 4, don't compare, use contrast instead. Comparison is the thief of joy, especially if you're comparing yourself to a neurotypical. On paper, we are always going to look like we're behind, but we don't live life on paper. ADHDers often jump from one career to the next, or they'll move across country on a whim, and this can make them feel like they're constantly starting over. But I promise you, that starting with experience is not the same thing. You take that knowledge with you, and ADHDers have a very unique gift of being able to make their second and even third act their best. So let the normies have their normal and strive for more than that. And our last tip, number 5, is shift your perspective. Being an outsider looking in is awful. Of course you're going to be depressed. Of course you're going to be anxious when you're looking at what you're missing out on. So stop looking. Turn around. I like to say that if you perpetually find yourself on the outside, you're likely meant to protect the perimeter. Remember, we're herd animals. The weakest and the slowest of us spend all their time in the middle of the herd, in the in crowd, to protect themselves from the danger that surrounds us. But we are not weak or slow. We are meant to be outsiders, looking outward, beyond the herd. From this position, our ADHD sensibilities make so much more sense. We detect danger faster because we're constantly scanning our environment and we can see things from multiple angles. We're actually designed to have a wider perspective. Why do you think that we can see beyond what other people can see? But in order to protect the perimeter, we have to be brave and we have to be open to these changes. But where can we find the room for this openness? On the outside, looking out next to all the other outsiders. And there's so many of us. And guess what? We are in excellent mental health. Because being an outsider, looking outwards, that's where you find joy. That's where you find purpose. That's where you find peace. I truly hope that helps. And if you want to learn more about the positives of ADHD, check out the playlist above. I'll see you next week. Bye.